Welcome to Your Iconic Image. If you want to take control of your image and be a power player in your space, then this is the show for you. Here we will arm you with tools and information to help you grow your brand on purpose. I'm your host, Marlana Semenza, photographer and visual strategist. Now let's dive into today's episode. Ruth Yunker is an author, humorist, and memoirist. She lives in Los Angeles, has 2 grown children, is in between pets, does the New York Times crossword puzzle with an erasable pen, and has an unfortunate addiction to barbecue potato chips. She's been writing for 35 years and has published 3 books, including Baby, I'm the Boss of Me, My Journey to Ageless. Welcome, Ruth.
Hi, thank you for having me on.
So I really am looking forward to having this conversation with you because I think aging is a touchy topic when it comes to women, because most of us, as we age, almost feel like we have to shrink and become a little more invisible. We aren't in the bloom of youth anymore. Opportunities seem to be less, all those kinds of things. And even the beauty industry has such an emphasis on being young, staying young, all these kinds of things. So I know that you use the term aging vivaciously. So how do we embrace that as opposed to, wallowing in the corner?
Yeah. First of all, get out of the corner and stop wallowing. And you're not invisible. You're doing it to yourself. I know people say, I feel less visible now. Well, darken your eyebrows for one thing. That's a practical thing. Women give up on their eyebrows as they get older. And I'm serious about this. I taught, this is my book, Baby, I'm the Boss of Me. And one of my chapters in it is about when I discovered the day that my eyebrows had turned white on me, and anyway, as you can see. But I think we are from the very beginning given a bad rap. Now, I was a teenager in the 60s, so I hit the baby boomers, burn your bra, you're over by the time you're 30 type of attitude. But it was a crazy time. And it wasn't the first time that women rose up and, did their speech. I mean, it's been going on for a long time. But I think it gets back to the whole, don't buy into that you're less beautiful as you get older. Actually, in the modeling industry now, there is a huge, it's called the classic, and it's using older models, just as diversities come into that world. And but it's up to you. You can't, this is not a time when somebody else is going to give you a hand. As one gets older, it's their path. It's my path. It's like you're all alone when you're born and you're all alone when you die. No matter how many people are around the bed, it's you taking that next step. And the sooner, and I don't think we're born vulnerable feeling. I think it really does have to do with our looks and that aging part, but that affects men as well. I have men friends who've had their facelifts, the bottom half, never the top. And so they can keep the craggy brow. But, and that starts, preserving your look starts with keeping healthy, eating healthy, exercising. The older you get, the more exercise you have to do. I'm sorry to say it, but it's like, I used to have 6 weeks grace period of kind of like just letting everything go. Now, 5 days and forget it. I mean, I walk, I do yoga, I used to do ballet, I used to ride horses, I used to jog. I've been doing something since I was 15 years old. And in spite of those barbecue potato chips, I have a bag waiting up there for me. I just think the health part comes first. I mean, yes, because I learned early that when I started jogging, that it got the serotonin or whatever that makes you more cheerful, it revved it up. Exercise can help you achieve a sense of calm and serenity that pills won't do. Or, I mean, I'm not a doctor. I'm telling you what works for me. I'm about as pure as you can get. Unfortunately, I gave up drinking at the age of 50. And for very good reasons. No one around me was sorry I gave up drinking. Let's just leave it at that. And that was a huge eye-opener, just learning to live life on its own. When I first quit, I was walking into a Starbucks and there was a 2-year-old walking out with her mother, hanging onto her mom's arm. And she was just alight with the joy. And I remember thinking, I want what you have. Because I know with her mommy, that little kid barely had sugar in her, you know. I'm not talking about a stringent lifestyle. I'm talking about also know what you need, give it to yourself. Like, I've given up alcohol. I will never give up anything else. Like, I'll never say, I'm never going to eat another barbecue potato chip in my life. I'm not doing that. You know,
Right.
it's pick your battles. But so I think it starts, for me, it started with health and then a good attitude that is hard to come by. I gave up anxiety 8 years ago.
How
And
do you do that?
yeah, exactly. Right. With practice, one day at a time. You know, of course, anxiety hasn't gone out of the window, but there was a point where I was saying, why do I react to every single new situation, even one I want? Like walking into a new dance class or into a party of people I don't know, wearing an outfit I like, feeling pretty good, and I'll still have that flash of anxiety go through. And I have, I'm very on good acquaintance with panic attacks, or was. And
Did
I
that
just,
come as you got older, or was that always a part of your makeup?
I think, I think it was a part of my makeup, but not as I kind of gotten beaten out of me a little bit by being a new kid 8 million times when I was growing up. 8 million is my standard number.
Yeah.
Probably I was a new kid 5 times.
Yeah.
But as I think more so, and particularly it was exacerbated towards the end of my drinking. So since I stopped drinking, it has reared its head a few times, and I believe in therapy. I do a lot of yoga. I am total yogini. Oh my God. I apologize. I
Oh,
thought
not a problem. It just means you're popular.
the telemarketer, and I've even signed up for one of those things that says that don't anyway. So but the anxiety thing, or I'm bringing that up in terms of saying giving it up, like someone could say, I'm going to give up worrying about what's going on the other side of the world because I personally cannot do anything about it. And my worry doesn't help me, doesn't help my organs, the inside of me, is just all tensed up over that. And so with the anxiety, it was really and it's still there. I mean, I had to drive to something new and different the other day. And it was like, oh my God, that I just, I had my ways. I left in time. I got there just fine, but I had to go through that, and it's a practice. It's starting to notice how often I would go there. I think that's a hint for anyone that pay attention to yourself. I'm a writer. I keep a journal, and I don't keep a journal. I write in it just to write, to write to myself. My children are supposed to burn them after I die, but I think I better make sure I get rid of them first, and not because of any kind of interesting gossip or titillating stuff. No, they are unutterably boring in terms of the constant whining, the constant from starting them in 1982 when my daughter was 2 years old till now when I am 72 years old, and it's still going on in there. And it's good for me because it gets it off my chest, and I can analyze it a little bit, but these aren't journals. So I'm saying, keep a journal where you're being truthful you're talking to yourself, or make lists. I'm big on words and stuff, but catch your repetitive ways of thinking that aren't helping you, that are negative. Some people think that's the smart way to be. I turn on the news first thing in the morning because I want to know what's going on. I turn on music. I go for a walk on the boardwalk. I mean, I'm going to find out what's going on during the course of the day. I have friends who say, okay, Ruth, now you want to know what's going on. And it depends. I have a subscription to the New York Times and the LA Times, I'll scan them, get right into real estate, which I think is much more fun.
Yeah.
What I can do something about, I do. And I'm a big believer of positivity and adding joy in your own personal life. My personal brand and my kind of stand that I'm on is finding the smallest, pay attention to your daily life.
Mhm.
Get up in the morning, smile at the mirror at yourself. I always recommend Botox. If you've got a big crease here, get rid of it, because all that does is send that look of worry into your brain. Like, oh, I'm really tense. No, if you get that removed by Botox, all you see is this calm face. And it's a very good message. Someone say, well, I'm not calm. Well, figure out how to be calm. Being calm is better. Being calm is wiser.
Yeah.
Being calm will help you age better. And I have a friend who said, well, that takes away the passion in my life. I used to think being angry was passionate, and did that really help matters, ever? I mean, a good solid argument with someone, and usually someone you love very much, is that's part of living, and that's part
Right.
of life, but in general, with yourself, just try and notice those negative traits and just notice them. That's the
Yeah.
first step. There's always the first step, and then you take it from there.
So let me ask you, okay, so now we're working on our internal. How do you tune out the external? Because, for example, there is this beautiful, amazing model who was in Sports Illustrated recently, swimsuit. And I don't remember how old she was, but the minute she came on the scene, the chatter started. Who does she think she is? She's too old for this. Did she have work done? Blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, she's amazing. And why can't we just embrace that this woman is amazing? Where it seems like anytime a man is, as he gets older, we look at the Sean Connerys of the world and all, they become distinguished. We become quote unquote old. So how do you tune out that mess?
You're right. I mean, it's at who? Do you remember who the model was, by the way?
I don't remember her name offhand. I'll have to look for it, send it to you.
Okay, well, I get that. I'm 72. I've had a facelift. I believe in Botox. I believe in get the facelift and skip the filler if you want to do that. Just go ahead and get it done with, and it's a much cleaner way of doing things. But all of that kind of work is the same as taking care of your body. Not getting up to 250 pounds, which I think the world could do all of us could do quite easily. You look at a Sean Connery, he had good face work, actually. He was a
Yeah.
good looking man, but he had, and he took care of himself,
Right.
That kind of, one time a woman leaned across a dinner table. We were at a dinner party, and she leaned across the table and she said to me, okay, Ruth, well, you look good, but that's because you work at it. Like that was an insult.
Bad thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And I leaned across to her and I said, and you look like because you don't do a thing about it.
Mm.
She was a plain, she didn't have to be plain, but she was pissed off. It was like a mean girl type situation. I just tune it out because I feel better than them and I know it.
Mm.
And that's another thing, is own your ego. Own it. Acknowledge it. If you're good at something, you're good at it, and be grateful. I mean, alone, privately, you do all the grateful, the spiritual work and all that. But out there in the world, especially as you get older, just stand tall. I remember one time running into a grocery store in Florida somewhere, and I lived in Ponte Vedra at that time. And Floridian women take care of themselves, a certain ilk. There's always going to be those people that don't do a darn thing, and fine, just stay out of my face. But she was older. I think I had just turned 50 or something like that, and she was in her 80s, I'm sure, just this gorgeous woman. But as she walked by, or with pushing her cart and not leaning on the cart, pushing it, her perfume just was gorgeous. So I hastened up to her, kind of in a windblown, kind of, frazzled, buying groceries for 4 children at home type thing, and said to her, oh my God, I love your perfume. I love it. And what is it? And I don't know what I expected her to do, kind of fall down on her face, because I thought she was great and she was older, and all that. But I also was truly like, tell me. And she looked up at me in my kind of messiness and her elegance, and she said, it's Boucheron, darling, Boucheron. And off she went. Hardly a tiny little smile here, like, maybe you'll
Mhm.
get there one day,
Mhm.
And I thought, that's who I want to be. I want to be like that. I know at home when I see an older woman or an older man, both, anyone who are getting, now that I'm 72, I look at people that I know are younger than I am, looking older. But so when I see someone who's like 80, 90, and I know what it takes to stand straight, I have scoliosis. I have to constantly do anyway, I look at them and I realize how much time and effort it has taken them to be at this age and out fully dressed, walking with authority. Maybe these women who pick on someone like that, they're just lazy jerks.
Yeah.
Pardon my French, And women can be so nasty with each other. I don't know if men are nasty with each other, but women, a certain ilk of women can be that way.
Yeah.
And I hate every one of them.
Yeah.
It's like, get over it.
Yeah, I think it's more prevalent with women.
Yeah, I do
That
too.
so how do you think enough of us step into our power, our and own all of the wonderful things about us?
Well, I can't answer that because I don't know enough
Right.
of, you know,
Right.
but certainly in my world, I've gone through, I'm not weeding out friends. It's not like that. But as I get older, I have less patience for the ones who still kind of seem trapped back, or the ones who still, do everything with their husband. Everything with their husband. I divorced my second husband in 2000, and I've been in a few relationships then, but I also took care of my elderly father as the older kid after my mother died, and I didn't have to take care of him. I mean, we lived together. We had a family beach house, been in the family for years, and I lived there, and it was fun. My son lived there for a while. It was an interesting household going on at the time. But I finally, for the first time in my life, actually lived alone because I got married at 19, had children. When I was divorced, I still had children, at the age of 67. So that was 5 years ago. And I love it. Now, I mean, there are times when I wish there was someone who could put on my necklace for me, or if I'm with someone, I'm never living with them. That is wonderful. But in that period of time, since I divorced in 2000, I've traveled alone, and I've just gotten stronger because of it. And
Mhm.
I mean, I had a good upbringing. I'd lived in Europe as a kid. And when I was 12, we moved to Brussels, Belgium. I was the most ungrateful 12-year-old for that European experience. Let me tell you, hated Paris. I've been back to Paris is where I go as a kind of a base. Written 2 books about that. But at the time, I didn't like it. It was a bigger, dirtier Brussels, Belgium, which is where we live. My poor mother was pregnant with her 6th child over there, and she's taken her 12-year-old to the Louvre to see the Mona Lisa. And I'm going, it's so small, but then when you get close to it, it's just, this museum is ridiculous. It's too big, it was awful, but I chose to go back to Paris when I started going back at 6 weeks, staying for 6 weeks in an apartment, was because I used to speak French and I knew some of it would come, and I just figured that was reasonable. But anyway, so in terms of, I think I really don't know. I meet both. Some of my closest friends will suddenly surprise me. We were talking about, suddenly someone spoke up the other day and said, well, I'm glad Hillary Clinton wasn't, elected. It's just ridiculous. You don't need a woman for a president. I mean, even the men at the table rose up and said, what are you kidding? It would be good to have a woman as a president in this country, and they were like, and I was like, I thought we were friends.
So, is there anything about aging that scares you?
No, not anymore, because I'm in the middle of it. I would hate to have suddenly a very painful, debilitating disease attack
Mhm.
me. But even then, when I talk about in my book, everyone has their Everests.
Mhm.
And I'm a humorist. So the book is funny. Well, hopefully, it's got a bit of everything. And, but the first Everest was having my first child and suddenly realizing, oh my God, I've got to feed this kid 3 meals a day for the next 18 years.
Yeah.
and how scary it was. And that the kid was never, he's now a psychologist and he's 44. So it worked out.
Yeah.
But we had some lumps along the way. And then the second Everest was, doing what I'm talking about is doing the thing you're most afraid of, but you need to. And that was sort of giving up alcohol. I knew I had to do it. And so I did. And the world opened up. And I learned at that point, and I believe it, that if you've got that kind of mountain in front of you, jump off it. Just jump off it. Like your friend who wants to move to Florida, it's like, she must have a reason for it,
Right.
And so what was the original question though? I'm rambling.
If there's anything that you're afraid of as you age.
Oh, the only thing I'm afraid of is and I say this because there's nothing fearful in front of me right now about my aging. I mean, I go to my chiropractor, I have to exercise a lot, I have to watch what I eat, but there's so many other things that are good about aging, kind of a sense of your wisdom and your self-confidence. The only thing I would say at this moment that would cause sort of a horrible sorrow to go through me is I just lost the last person I was in a long relationship with, but then we managed to become best friends, and he died in October of leukemia. And my parents, and friends that have died, is that hideousness of losing someone. And so it would be if I died when I know if my children are still at an age where they are going to suffer because I'm not there in the way I did with my parents. That's the only thing, that they would lose me, even though I feel the person who dies is in great shape. They've moved on. It's the next adventure, whatever it is, And so, no, the aging, someone used to say, don't run out of money. Well, I've danced around that issue a few times. So, there's always a plan B.
Yeah.
So if it's like, oh my God, I've just found out I'm going to, I don't know what, like my eyes are giving me trouble. I'm pretty sure I need cataracts removed or whatever. And I'm going to go next Wednesday finally, and if I find out we're going to be blind in 2 weeks, well, what's plan B then? You know what I mean? Because the alternate, as they say, they think it's funny, and is that you're dead, but dead they're okay. I'm sure they're fine. It's struggling, I think one of the safest things as you age is to make sure you're close with your family, with your children, your brothers and sisters, your friends, be involved in several communities, have younger friends, younger doctors. Find a good plastic surgeon if you're that kind of person, I don't know. I didn't expect to feel this wonderful at this age. It's like I turned 70 and I had a meltdown. I wasn't even going to announce it on my Facebook platforms, or on my Instagram platforms, but then I did because, I have a YouTube channel. It's all about aging. And it stopped at the pandemic, but I'm about to start it back up again. And I woke up and I was like, oh my God, I'm 70. This has just gone too far. But then suddenly I was 71. And then last August was my 72nd birthday. And I woke up that morning and I thought, I don't feel any age at all. And that was when the true meaning of the word ageless became real to me. Because ageless doesn't mean like, oh, she's ageless in her infinite wisdom. It means I'm not sure how old I am because I feel exactly the same.
Yeah. Is there any perspective that you have now that you wish you had had years ago?
Well, I sort of joke about that question sometimes because it's like, what would you tell your 16-year-old self, that person? But and that I would tell my 16-year-old self, girls are too good at math. And the reason I recommend that is because math always has an answer, and men grow up thinking they're good at math and they've always got an answer, and we grow up going, oh my God, I'm too creative to know how to get, this triangle thing here. And instead, sometimes when the chips are down and I'm alone someplace or in a foreign country and I don't know the answer, I say, what would a man do? And that would be almost, for the worried, what would your husband say? Do it, just go there. But there's so many different answers. I mean, to relate to, I would say though, my thing is maintain your sense of humor. If you don't have one, find one.
Mm-hmm.
Read comics, read humorists, watch funny movies. If you don't have a problem with alcohol, have a little bit of wine every night, if you're something, so that you can laugh and have a sense of, get a pet, remain open and curious. I still remember learning about Belgium in the 5th grade, which was 2 years before I ended up moving there. And for some reason, I was fascinated by that. I was fascinated by geography at that age. I'm still fascinated. I sort of don't like using something like a GPS, waves, because it doesn't show me on the map how to get there. I look it up later. So I'm still, remain curious, be open to people.
Yeah.
Talk to strangers. Whenever I used to regularly have a dinner party, I would always invite someone I just met.
Interesting.
Somebody that didn't know, and I always mix my group of friends, have different types of groups of friends, my yoga friends, my older lady friend, my friends from not childhood so much, they started at about 30, are my longest term friends, but remain curious, but above all, be open, and really, really look to the younger generation too, privately. Don't tell them you're doing this, and get some new wisdom from them. You know how smart we are at 22.
Yeah.
We know it all. And they
Always.
still will. Yeah. And they've got great, I love millennials' sort of ardent sense of humor about themselves. I mean, they'll pick on you, but they're totally like, here's me acting like an absolute idiot, and here's why. And I love it. It's my kids are in their 40s, so they're that kind of age, But it's like that. It's that kind of, it's remain open, try and be happy, for God's sake. If reading the newspaper is upsetting you, then don't do it. Or do the crossword puzzle. Find an interesting app on your phone. Ask your children what game they're playing on their phone. I do that with my daughter. She keeps me up to date with whatever game she's playing, It's like that, and be open to the new stuff. You don't have any control over time passing. You do have control over the mood you're in. And if you like coffee, don't give it up. My son keeps he's a health fanatic, trying to have me give up coffee. Ain't giving up coffee.
You need it to go with the chips.
Boy, that'd be a good combination. Then I'll head off to the party in my finest outfit.
Oh, I love this. Okay, Ruth, I just have 4 final questions for you.
Okay.
First one, what's the best piece of advice you were ever given?
That I wasn't ever given.
That you were given.
Yes.
What's the best piece of advice you were given?
Yes. And that's fake it till you make it.
Interesting. Share with us one thing on your bucket list.
I want to go down to Buenos Aires for 3 months to 6 months and study the tango.
Very cool. When the toy companies finally get around to making an action figure of you, what 2 accessories will it come with?
Well, one is a sword, because I think it's kind of a clean cut if you need to, kill the person or whatever. And it's also it's also beautiful. And I used to do a lot of ballet, and ballet is one of the things fencers take for the feet. But the other one, it's not so much an accessory. I would have it that my limbs are expandable. They go long, and the legs. And so you can climb and jump and be bigger than, so.
Love that. And the last one, how do people find you? And also tell us how to find your book.
My book is on Amazon.com and books, and all 3 of my books. And I have a website, RuthYunker.com. I'm on Facebook. I don't do as much on Facebook as I did, and I'm on Instagram. And the reason I mention my Instagram is it has a lot more of my daily kind of find magic in your everyday life, because it's free and you can have it, no matter what. And little things, like the day that all the lights are green and so on. So on Instagram, it's Ruth.Yunker, because people were calling me Ruthie Unker. I've got that kind of name. I mean, one day I was supposed to say, "Hi, I'm Ruth Yunker," about 10 times into the camera. And by the end, I was like, this hard name to say cheerfully. And usually you just say, hey, hi, I'm Ruth. You don't say, hey, I'm Ruth Yunker. In Paris, it's pronounced Ruth Yunker. Awful. It's just awful.
Well, thank you so much for that. I'll have to look you up on Instagram. And thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for joining us. Once again, I'm Marlana Semenza, photographer and visual strategist. Please comment, like, or share this episode, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a thing. For more information on how I can help you create your iconic image, visit marlanasemenza.com.